Life's like a road that you travel on. There's one day here, and the next day gone. These opening lines from our generation's anthem, Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts, is a great analogy of what work at Upstream and Cross Purpose is like. There's definitely one day here, and the next day gone. But some days, like today, we get to slow down, pull over, look at our maps, and be encouraged about how far we've come, and look ahead, and get excited about what's coming up. So the first 4 months of the fellowship are kind of like the days leading up to the road trip, where we're making sure that the snacks are packed and the best route is chosen. These last 4 months have been more like the first 3 or 4 hours of the road trip. Our first stop was picking up some new family members to join us on the trip. So in January, I set out to develop my interviewing, question asking, and discernment skills to figure out who would be a good fit for our program. I interviewed 7 people. 6 of them were accepted into the program, and 3 of them are currently in their 3rd week of training camp. As part of this goal, I also reached out to Jeff Kahn. He works for Continuum Search, and his job is to interview executive leaders for major positions in different organizations. He's one of the sharpest people I've ever met, and we had a great conversation about what it takes to be a great interviewer. One of the most helpful things he said was, don't let the question end with an answer. Circle back to what they said. It says that you're listening. Being great at asking follow-up questions is not just necessary to figure out who we want on our trip with us, it is also necessary to make sure that the people on the trip with us make it all the way to the end. So as I look to continue to grow as a coach, one of my objectives is to become better at asking follow-up questions. I will do this by reading the book, Coaching Questions, and also by having Elisa sit in on 3 of my coaching meetings coming up. She's already sat in on 2 coaching sessions of mine in the past month, and it has been one of the most helpful things for my development. It is so helpful to have her sit in, and then afterwards, give me specific examples of questions that I could have asked or ways that I could ask questions in a clear way. And I have found this to be just so incredibly helpful for my development. As an organization, one of our goals for this leg of the trip is to have 10 out of the 19 leaders from Class 1 and Class 2 graduate. I'm currently coaching 4 of those leaders, and one of the greatest roadblocks, Taylor mentioned it, has been jumping into their journey kind of at this point in their path. It has been really hard to build rapport with people who have been in the program longer than I've lived in Denver. It's kind of like they were already on the trip and then they pulled over and picked up a hitchhiker. And building trust with a hitchhiker is kind of like a tricky thing. The best way I've found though to build rapport with people is to spend intentional time with them outside of family gatherings and outside of coaching sessions. Just an example and a story to illustrate that. So when I first inherited my 4 leaders, I didn't know them at all, but one of them texted me one day and said that she had this crazy nosebleed. She bled for days, and so she was in the hospital for almost a week. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to just love on her and go visit her. So on my way to the hospital, I stopped at Tattered Cover, and I picked up the first Stephen King novel I found and some dark chocolate. And I showed up, and she was so excited, not just because I brought her stuff, but because I was there, because I was present. And we spent over an hour just hanging out and talking and hearing more about her story and my story. And it just made such a difference. My coaching relationship with her is just night and day compared to my other leaders who I haven't really spent as much intentional time with. Those were the best $10 I spent all year, hands down. And so looking forward, I'm going to make it my goal to spend informal time with my leaders, so 1 meeting with each of them at least. And we'll be friends like the little dog and cat. Another one of our organizational goals is to have 35 new leaders out of poverty by the end of the year. And I will be coaching 6 of them starting at the end of this month. And all of them will be attending Emily Griffith. Most of you know, a couple weeks ago, I became the new liaison between Emily Griffith and Cross Purpose and Upstream. And so far, I've been able to build 14 relationships with staff and faculty there. And we're working together to build the systems and the processes that will ensure the successful completion of middle skills training for our leaders across both programs. As I look ahead, one of my goals is to collaborate with their Center for Student Success at Emily Griffith and make a college 101 workshop so that our leaders and other Emily Griffith students can just hear more about good ways to study and how to manage your time and how to balance life in school, because it's been a struggle for some of them. As I look ahead, one of my objectives in my personal in my personal development focus for the spring, I set out to delve into what motivated me and to explore what it looked like to lead as someone who's not as emotionally driven as other people. So I asked you guys to connect me with a logical woman in leadership, and Juan very graciously connected me with Veronica Figoli. She is the Director of Family and Community Engagement for Denver Public Schools. And meeting with her has been one of the most life-giving experiences for me in the past year. My only regret is not being as intentional as I could have been about setting up regular meetings with her. And so coming up, my next meeting with her is June 6th, and I'm super excited, and I'm planning on asking her to be my professional mentor at that time. Everyone knows that one of the best part about road trips is taking naps. Personally, I don't take naps in my normal life, only when I'm in a car going somewhere. And so part of my personal development looking forward will be on rest and self-care. Sometime in March, I had a Monday that felt like a Friday and a Wednesday that I felt like would never end. And by Thursday, I hit a wall. I was sitting at my desk, I was unable to focus, I was feeling scattered, and I was growing increasingly frustrated on myself because I couldn't snap out of it. And my body and my mind were sending me a strong message: stop and rest. I have a lot of growing to do in this area, and so looking forward, I'm going to make it a priority to have 2 Sabbaths in a month. I'm going to start small and succeed. The world won't fall apart if I unplug for 24 hours, and I really need to start living like I believe that, because I don't think I do. No road trip would be complete without missing some exits and getting lost. As I look back on my PDP, there were things and objectives that did not get accomplished. One of them, under my professional development, was being part of the team that successfully implemented Salesforce, the database that would help us keep track of our leaders and our allies' progress. Because of the nature of the project, it just didn't make sense for me to continue being a part of that team. And so none of those OKRs got accomplished, plus the project in itself kind of took a pause. In the future, I think this is much less likely to happen since we are pretty set in our major and minor roles, and we are running in our lanes. And me implementing a database is not really my lane. As I wrap up, here are 3 other highlights from this road trip so far. I had the opportunity of searching high and low for a GED writing tutor for one of our neighbors, and for a math tutor for leaders in training camp who were doing a TABE test. That's a test for adult basic education that is required to get into Emily Griffin. Even though finding those tutors was not easy, it was so cool and encouraging to see leaders kind of like flourish and move forward in their futures because of the tutoring that they've been receiving. I've also gotten to use my administrative gifts as part of the upstream team. And I was baptized by fire by getting to coordinate the upstream graduation at the beginning of the year, where 12 of our leaders walked across the stage and over 100 of our neighbors and community members attended. I've never had a panic attack, but the closest I've ever come was when Jason was on stage and he grabbed the bonsai pot and he broke it on the stage and dirt went everywhere, and I had no idea that that was supposed to happen. And the whole time I'm panicking, thinking, do I run and get a broom to the closet? Where is the closet? Can I leave? Should I stay? And I just like almost cried from joy when I saw him reach over and grab a broom and a dirt pan that he'd set up beside the stage. Like, I could not be like a happier person. I also helped plan and coordinate 2 staff fiestas. That's the bonsai tree. I also helped plan and coordinate 2 staff fiestas, 8 family gathering meals, and I made 35 leader profiles for the leaders currently in training camp. It was just a very good tool to help our training camp staff love our leaders in and through training camp. Finally, as I reflect on the past 3 months, there is one area that I dreaded and I stressed out the most over, and that was writing. Our monthly writing assignments gave me a space to process my experiences and also provided a catalyst for great conversations with friends and family and just random Facebook stalkers. One of my favorite reaction actually to my article, My Biggest Fear, where I talked about being Latina and just trying to figure out if my voice was valid or not, and that journey that I've been on, was my second cousin. He's Dominican American like me. He's an unbeliever, and he's actually the biggest supporter of my work here. He said, dude, your Latina woman article, what? I was like, F-bomb, that's deep. You're doing great things too. Whenever I feel sad, I just go back to the text and I'm like, yes. Even though the process of writing was not my favorite, and seeing the impact reminds me of why it matters.
Amen.
So if life is a highway, I want to ride it all night long. If you're going my way, I want to ride it all night long. So thanks for being the kind of people that I would drive through the night with. Thanks for pulling over today and taking the time to look back and look around and look ahead. And I'm so thankful to be on the road with you. Thank you.